USA Bowling presents the Bronze Level Student Certification Program with Coach Fred Borden and the voice of men's and women's professional bowling, Denny Schreiner.
And basically what we'd like to discuss today is one of the things that maybe would improve your game faster than anything else, maybe even faster than throwing strikes from time to time, and that, of course, is improving your spare shooting.
Denny, as a matter of fact, that's probably the quickest way to get to 170 average. You know, we all like to throw strikes. Strikes are fun to throw.
You bet.
You know, more fun, though, when you really start gaining that confidence when you move over to make the 10 pin and your ball actually goes where you're aiming.
If you can teach me how to make the 10 pin, you are a very good coach. And let's talk about spare shooting. It's as easy, basically, Fred, as 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. Number one, Denny, where do we put the feet? Number two, we want to line up that 36-inch arrow off the right shoulder. And number three, what target out on the lane do we look at? We have just 7 spots back here to look at. Number one, the strike ball. Then we move over to the left, 1, 2, 3 left, make the 3 pins right of the head pin. Then we go 1, 2, 3 right, makes the 3 pins left of the head pin. It's that simple. That's how easy it is.
Sounds pretty basic to me. Fred, you know, I've noticed in all the bowling centers that I've been in throughout the country that there are several series of dots and then also some arrows. Is it a game of connect the dots? Is that how you make the spares?
Well, pretty good observation, Denny. And you know, they are the same all over the world. I know some people say, well, they look a little different here, but I think that's probably the architecture of the building. The higher ceiling, the lower ceiling, the size of the bowling center gives people an optical illusion that they are different. But in fact, the ABC comes out and checks all the arrows, and that's part of the measurements that have to be standardized in our sport.
Okay.
And you know, we start back here for people that are 6'3" or 6'4".
So for me, I'm a little over 6 feet. I might be back in here somewhere.
Closer to this back row of dots, correct.
Okay.
I'm 5'9". I'm just a little behind the second row of dots. And then up at the foul line, we have another row of dots, and they're a mirror of the dots back here. And this is a check when you walk to the foul line to see if you're walking on line, if you're drifting too far off. You know, we'll give you a board or two, but some people have to watch. They walk 5, 6 boards crooked, so you can check. You start on the big center dot back here. You can walk to the big center dot up at the foul line.
It's interesting you mention that because sometimes when you watch the professionals on television, they'll slide, get to the foul line and look down, and are they checking at that point where they're ending up?
Exactly. They're checking to see, boy, I threw that shot pretty good and I didn't strike. What happened? So they check to make sure that they didn't drift offline with the footwork.
All right, now let's talk about something here. You said you only have to move in 7 different areas. I'll give you a for instance here, and we'll get you started as far as how to make those spares. Say that I would go up and throw a shot and maybe leave the 3 pin, which is the first pin right of the head pin.
Okay, we'd start here at our strike position, and the 3 pins, 1 to the right, so I'd move over 4 boards left, or about 4 inches left.
Okay, each board out there would then be basically about 1 inch in length?
About 1 inch wide, exactly, Danny. There's 40 boards, about a 40-inch wide lane. So we've moved over 4 inches. Now I line up the shoulders right between the second and third arrow, because that pin's 1 to the right. I'm going to use right between the second and third arrow. I'm going to keep the shoulders lined up. I'm going to walk up there, and I'm going to swing, and I'm going to shake hands right between the second and third arrow, and I'm going to make that 3 pin.
All right, now what if I would leave the 6 pin?
Well, that's another pin to the right of center. So I'd move another 4 boards or 4 inches. And now here's the only time we change the target over to the third arrow. The third arrow is for the 2 corner pins on the right.
Which would be the 6 pin and the 10 pin.
Exactly. So now I've moved over 8 boards for my strike ball. I line up my shoulders, I walk up, and I shake hands with that third arrow. Bingo, make the 6.
And now what about the dreaded 10 pin, Fred? It's a tough one for me to pick up. I seem to be leaving it more and more and making it less and less.
Then we just move up over another 4 boards. We line that arrow up off that right shoulder over the third arrow, and the key to making that 10 pin is make sure you walk straight. We have a lot of people who want to walk back into the middle of the lane, and that'll ruin that 10 pin every time.
right, now we've talked about the pins, the spares that we're trying to make on the right side of the head pin. What do you do if, say, you start leaving things to the left side?
Well, Denny, they're even easier. And the reason for that is we never have to change our mark. We are right-handed, so we're just playing all the left-hand spares right between the second and third arrow.
Can I stop you right here? You mentioned the fact that we're right-handed. What if you're left-handed? Explain to me there how you would utilize the arrows.
Okay. You know, when we start out and when we count the arrows, we start at the right channel, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those on the right are for right-handers.
Okay.
Now, if you were left-handed, you start from the left-hand channel, 1, 2, 3, 4. The ones on the left are for left-handers. The one on the right are for right-handers. Now, we're interested primarily in just the second and third arrow and in between the second and third arrow.
That really makes it simple.
Yes.
Well, let's get back to those left side spares now.
Okay. What we've done, we go back to our strike position. We've left the pin left of the head pin. We move 3 boards right. We roll the ball right between the second and third arrow. Then if we leave the 4 pin, let's say, the next pin over, that's 2 pins over. That would be 6 boards over for my strike ball. Where do I put my feet? Line up the shoulder. Walk up there and shake hands right between the second and third arrow.
And what about the far pin on the left, which would be the 7 pin?
Correct. Now we would be 9 boards over to the right. Line up those shoulders, walk up and shake hands right between that second and third arrow. That's how simple it is, Denny. There's 7 shots. We strike ball, 1, 2, 3 left, or 1, 2, 3 right. That's how simple it is.
Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
Pretty good foot movement there. The only problem is, now we've talked about these single pin spares, and I hate to break the news to you, but I've been leaving cluster spare combinations left and right, more than 1 pin at a time, and those are difficult to pick up.
Well, you know, Denny, a good key thought in making clusters that every spare is a 1-pin spare.
All right.
Let's say you left the 4-7, the 2 pins on the left-hand corner.
Okay.
What you want to do is figure, what's the pin closest to me?
That would be the 4 pin.
Yeah, well, now that will be the key pin, the 4 pin. So I'm going to move over 6 boards to the right. I'm going to line up that imaginary arrow off the shoulder. I'm going to walk up, shake hands between the second and third arrow. The ball's going to hit the 4 pin. The 4 pin's going to go into the 7. So if I hit the key pin, the other ones will go down in domino fashion.
All right, now I've got a problem for you. It's a problem for me as well. In practice this past week, I left 2 or 3 times what's commonly referred to as the baby split, the 3 pin and the 10 pin. I don't mind telling you, I made it about twice out of 6 or 7 tries.
Denny, this is where in making spares, we call it make-believe making spares.
I was going to make believe I was going to leave the bowling center.
Well, we don't want you to do that.
All right.
We got a little system for you. What you want to do is make believe. Where would you like the ball to go? Right between the 3 and the 10, or you have to make believe the 6 pin we're standing.
Sure.
The 6 pin. We move 4 inches, 8 inches over to the left. We line that arrow up, right over that third arrow, walk up, shake hands with that third arrow, make the 6, it just touches the 3, just touches the 10, and you make those baby splits and everything. It says, boy, is that Denny a good bowler?
If you use the dots on the approach and the arrows out on the lane, it seems to be pretty basic. It's just more a question of mathematics and making the proper moves. But if we were really going to talk about one specific aspect of becoming a very good spare shooter and raising your average from 140 to 150 to 160 to 170, would it be the arm swing, trying to keep the arm swing in line?
But then you hit the nail right on the head. And what happens is we stand here, and let's say we're just going to throw a strike ball. We know where we're going to put our feet. We've got the shoulders lined up. Now I know the target arrow out on the lane that I'm aiming for, and I walk up, and I miss my target arrow. Remember last week's lesson when we talked about arm in, ball out?
I've done that quite frequently.
Yes. If you miss to the right, check that arm swing.
Okay.
If you're standing in the right position, if you're lined up right with the shoulders, and you know the target arrow that you're trying to hit, if you don't hit, it's because your arm's not staying in line. It's not staying on the 4-inch groove or in the track. Work on that arm swing. And your spares will just, boy, they'll increase. You just won't believe how good you'll make those spares.
And you have to keep thinking about the 36-inch arrow. If I do that, how far can I get the swing off line?
Exactly.
One other question that I have, and maybe you can clear this up for me, is do I try and walk straight to the foul line or do I walk straight to the target?
Always straight to the foul line, Denny. What we do is we move over into 7 different positions. I'll give you an example. If we moved over, say, 12 boards, it wouldn't do us any good to move over 12 boards and walk back 7.
No.
Why don't we just move over 5? So we move over and we preset the angle and make sure we keep that arrow lined up and then walk in a straight line. Keep your body in a straight line and keep your body lined up toward the target area.
Now, when you talk about presetting the angle, then you're talking about the shoulders as well.
Right.
So they would be a little bit open at this point.
Exactly. We're pointing toward the target. We walk up in a straight line, keep the shoulders lined up, swing through, and shake hands with that third arrow, and you make that 10-pin all day long.
And it would be exactly the opposite. Say if you were going to go on the other side and shoot the 7-pin, you would actually close the shoulders a little bit.
Close the shoulders up. I'm pointing toward the 7-pin now, and I walk up, and I'm going to shake hands right between that second and third arrow, and I'll make that 7. But I've stayed lined up with the pin, not with the lane.
Learning how to improve your spare shooting. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Foot placement, shoulders, and target.
Denny, and one other thing, don't forget, when those pins are standing to the right, you move left.
All right.
If they're standing left, you move right. That's it.
That's it for lesson number 3. Coming up in lesson number 4, it's what I've been waiting for all along. We're going to teach you how to keep score, and maybe we'll show you how to pencil in a 300 game.
And also, Denny, we're going to talk about the handicap system. What makes our sport of bowling so great? Where 2 teams could bowl each other, and if, let's say one team had a 40-50 pin better average than the other team, how the handicap system works and makes it fair for all parties concerned.
You mean to tell me that I could put together a team that would bowl a team that you would put together and we could actually compete equally?
We sure could. Maybe we'd have to spot you 60 pins, but we could go out there and have a heck of a good match.
All right, sounds like a bonus to me. Don't forget, Fred and I'll be back for lesson number 4.